Hey people, this is Fernando doing another video for more survivalists, and in this case checking out this knife from Extrema, which is the famous Italian manufacturer of premium tactical knives. DMP is the knife that I have here. This is what I just got in the mail. Now I haven't owned one of these before, so it's my first Extrema. I have been very much familiar with the brand, knowing how high quality and well regarded it is. Extrema, certificado control de calidad. Okay, so it's a warranty. Thank you for purchasing an Extrema product. Visit our social media channel. All right, and there you go, a little scanning thingy there, and some actual control numbers and quality control lots and so on. Okay, nice. So yes, these are very nice knives. They're more on the expensive side, but I was just thinking about that in terms of how much money are you paying, how much knife are you getting. It's getting to that point where, man, if you're paying a couple $100s for a knife, I want to have certain things. And it is the case that these days you're paying a lot for certain brands, and in terms of the steel and the quality of manufacture, maybe it's not all that much. Now that's not the case with Extrema. They make top of the line knives, as you're probably familiar with if you've ever seen some of these videos. Well, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and you can tell in the quality of the details. I've owned a number of knives over the years, and I can tell you right away, you feel the quality. Stuff like this, for example, the loop for your leg, right? How well this is all stick together, how they have this anti-slip material, so as you have a little bit more retention there in your leg when making contact there with the fabric. Minimalistic sheath. This snaps, strong quality. You just feel it all around. The sheath itself is reversible. You can move that retention, so it has a primary and secondary retention system, right? So you bring out the knife like that, but this is all very minimalistic. It reminds me a little bit of the Glock sheath, right? And it's completely open there underneath. So Extrema makes knives for the military. I'm pretty sure they make the bayonet for the Italian armed forces, and a bunch of other knives they produce for them. I have to look into how you reverse this, but obviously you can reverse this system from one side to the other. So many of these brands that gain a good name in the market, sometimes you're paying a couple $100s for a knife that is your basic 1095 steel. There's nothing absolutely wrong with 1095 steel. It's more than okay, but the price should reflect the quality of construction and the materials used. There's only so much you can expect from a knife within a certain budget. If you're going up a level, then you probably want something more. This is multi-purpose knife. The design is plenty sound. I think that you are going to be pretty happy with it if you're looking at a premium high-end multi-purpose knife. This could definitely be a great option. You have 6-inch blade, right? 6-inch length. The total length is around 11 inches. Total length. It's going to be almost 1/4 of an inch thick. So that's a quite stocky, stout blade. The jimping here is super large, which I like it. I appreciate that. I don't like all that little serrated thing that feels a little bit too aggressive. This is large, but it's nicely rounded, so I'm not messing up my hand. This part here, I'm not so much of a fan of. I honestly don't see much of the point in that. And if you're gripping the knife correctly, you shouldn't have any problems with this making contact with your hand, with your finger. And if it gets to that point, yeah, probably a little bit of extra traction could be useful. Not something that I'm gonna be losing sleep over. I do like that they minimize the amount of wasted space. I don't like choils. I don't like any of that bullshit. I want something that gives me edge all along. This is N690. This is quality boiler steel, stainless steel that has a very nice edge retention. Actually, let's test how sharp this is. Well, could be a little bit sharper out of the box. It's gonna be cutting. But yeah, probably I could improve this a little bit, touching that edge a little bit. So yeah, it's sharp, but given that it's a full flat grind, as you obviously see it is, this could be made a lot sharper. Probably working on that little edge a little bit more and getting rid of some little burrs. Yeah, but still pretty sharp as it is. Yeah, probably just a little bit of oily and little barbs or whatnot from the sharpening process. Sometimes I've noticed that with some of these knives, when they come out of the box, you have to actually use them a little bit so as to remove a bit of those burrs and whatever oil it is, and then yeah, even a little bit of dirt and grime and in the when they send it to you, and then as you see, it starts cutting, yeah, a little bit better. So yeah, definitely sharp enough to cut paper, and sure, nice. The tip is a drop point tip, and combined with how thick this stock is, a 1/4 inch thick stock, this is going to be making for a very strong, tough knife. Now, N690 is not the toughest steel there is, but that's because it's a steel that has a lot of edge retention. Your tactical 1095 knife will not hold an edge nearly as long as this knife will, and because of how tough it is and the design of the blade geometry in general, you're looking at a pretty strong knife in spite of that, in spite of being N690 and in spite of being a full flat knife, because of how much steel you still have all over. It is a full length tang construction. Could actually show you that. That's the difference between quality knives and crap. You know, with a quality knife, you can see everything. There's no hidden secret. There's no nonsense. You can do stuff like this. For example, removing the grip of the knife. And actually, let me just do that here. Try not to drop anything. And that's the chunky piece of steel. Rounded so as to avoid any potential cracking points. So well done there. And yeah, that's this little bit here simply has to screw the cap at the end of the knife. One of the more noticeable things Extrema Ratio has is the way in which they design their handles, which seems like a little bit weird at first, but turns out they've gotten a lot of research in this design for the handles, and it's something that feels a lot more comfortable than it looks. You actually have to get it, and then you kind of get the idea of, yeah, when you squeeze on something, you do end up, if you have like a Play-Doh and you squeeze on it, you kind of have this sort of shape because these fingers are longer than these ones. So here, being thicker allows you to have a nicer, more comfortable grip, and even adds a little bit of retention, because I would typically think like, well, I like smooth contact, right? I don't like sharp edges, especially not in something that I'm holding. But at the same time, I now realize that this gives me that finger choil effect of having a little bit more retention there when I hold it. So all in all, man, it is a very cool knife. I like these quite a bit. The weight for these is 10 ounces, which, given the construction, yeah, makes sense. This is all quite light and quite minimalistic, not bulky. I suppose a lot of people would appreciate that. No nonsense, no bullshit, just your strong injected nylon sheath and your blade, which is properly retained by these two snaps and that little leverage there, which can be moved to one place or the other. Stonewash finish, and boom, that's it. You have a stainless steel knife that will not require a dedicated care so as to avoid rusting. You know, anything can rust eventually. In my experience, N690, damn, that's one of the harder to rust stainless steels around. It is pretty stain resistant. So just wiping it clean a little bit after you're done, and it's easier to keep the knife clean in general. I've talked about this so many times before. I'm okay with carbon steel. You know, my K-bars, your SEs, that's all fine. But when you have your basic 1095 carbon steel, you have to find a solution for the protection of the blade. If not, it's going to be rusting orange very quickly. So easiest thing to do when you're using a definitely affordable carbon steel, well, you just paint it with some epoxy coating thing that has somewhat of a texture, and it looks okay enough, it looks tactical enough, and that's all fine and good. Now, when you end up using those knives, that's when you start appreciating stuff like this, what I've done with my own knife, the one designed by myself and made by Aitor. That's a knife that actually, the first series of my Aitor knife was also an N690, specifically because it's the knife that Extrema Ratio has been using in their own high-end knives, and that's something I wanted to imitate myself. When you use these knives, it's a lot easier to just keep it clean. When you have epoxy paint, you not only have it chip away and wear out and starts not looking all that great. It's not just about looks, it's about keeping the thing clean and how well it slides when cutting through material. It has a nice little interesting groove here. It's not like a blood groove or anything that large, but I do like that at least you have something that if it ends up getting stuck on something, it's not going to be doing any of this vacuum thing. It's going to be having just a little bit of air flow if there's ever the need for that, which is usually quite rare. Now, I've seen some of the videos from Joe X. I think he does a fantastic job in the knife destruction area, but he recently broke one of the Extrema Ratios. Honestly, when you have such a narrow, long blade, no matter what it's made of, it could be an obtainium, it still snaps. This would be the blade that, yeah, this will not be snapping easily, at least. Everything snaps. With enough leverage, anything can be destroyed. No matter what knife, no matter what folder you have, enough leverage, you will break anything or hit something enough times, and sure, you're going to be causing a catastrophic failure. This blade, though, is quite stout, quite thick, and there's a lot of quality steel. Heat treated to 58 HRC, which I think is perfect. That's what I would have gone for as well. So yeah, man, super happy with it. I think it's a nice, high quality general purpose knife, which is what's intended for. And you'll have the links down there below in the description. See you on the next one. Take care.